Well, Peter, who are we talking to today?
Well, today, John, we have three aspiring young actors on the show, each progressing through their careers in different ways.
So, potentially stars of the future.
Yes, let's hope so.
Okay, great. Let's listen to the interview. Okay, welcome Ben, Marie and Finley, three up-and-coming budding actors. It's nice to hear from you. What's been going on in your lives? What's interesting and what's not? What's happening? So the first thing I want to ask, maybe for you, Ben, if you don't mind, who are you? Where are you from? Family background? Where are you living?
So my name is Ben. I'm 20 years old and I'm currently living in Guildford. Actually moving out next week, hopefully moving to London, fingers crossed for things work to plan. But I was born in Hammersmith, born in London, and then I moved to Langley when I was a kid, and that's where I've sort of grown up before going to Guildford for university, dropping out to then become an actor, which is what I'm doing now.
Okay. And Marie, what about you?
Yes, I'm Marie. I'm 25. I'm born and raised Epsom. I travel into London regularly for work. None of my family are musical, I think, so I'm the guinea pig of the family. So yeah, I've just been trying to figure it out on my own, really.
Great. Finley, what about you? What's your background?
I'm Finley. James Nobbs, me the middle name as well. I'm born and raised in Sutton, and yeah, the only entertainment sector of my family is my uncle is a failed poet. So I've got a signed copy of his book, you know.
That's failed. If he's got a book, that's probably a successful poet. I don't know, but...
Yeah, well, it's a self-published book, and sure, all the copies are to other members of the family. Christmas, when he literally bought every single member of the family a wrapped copy of his book to everyone in the family. We're like, thanks.
Okay, that's it. So how long ago, how old were you when you realised or you thought that show business was for you? Ben, can you remember back that far?
Yeah, not long ago for me. My mum sort of, looked to her dismay, inspired me to do the theatre because her mum, my grandma, was in Ethiopia and loved reading English literature and watching English plays. So that kind of passed down to my mum, and my mum passed that down to me. I remember seeing my first ever play. It was a musical, and it was just sort of inspired from there. But was heavily advised not to go into the sector. But it sort of just stuck with me, and I tried to make my way into it ever since.
And what about you, Finley? When did you think showbiz was for you?
Well, I remember being in, I think it maybe when I was about 10 years old, and it was when everyone's asking what you wanted to be when you grow up. And for some reason, I remember three things, which was, number one was a wrestler, everyone's dream at the time. Then it was a singer, and then it was an actor. And I quickly realised that singing wasn't for me after I unsuccessfully performed in the school talent show and did moves like Jagger. And I think I got told off by one of the teachers saying like I made like a poo joke during the performance, and I got in serious trouble for it. But I've always kind of done like stupid things to try and entertain people. Always been like a thing for me. So yeah.
And Marie, did you want to be a wrestler as well, or?
Not. So I think ever since I was tiny, I've always been a singer. So singing and music was kind of my first sort of intro into the industry. And then from then, I think the acting and the dance side of things just came along with it. And then very much found that I had just a love for just straight acting. Just did, like the same school shows, did little drama clubs, and just absolutely loved it. I was just so at home in my element, just creative.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think the thing that interests me in all of this is you see actors. What practical steps have you taken to become an actor? Is there a very prescribed route in terms of college, amateur dramatics, that kind of thing? Or can you be more off the cuff? Can you just sign up as an extra somewhere and just learn the art that way? I mean, Ben, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, that's how I actually started. I started off as an extra when I was a child on TV and film sets. Like, I had theatre experience before with my school, but I started asking my mum to get into the industry. And so in order to discourage me from doing acting, I was signed up to be a child extra because it was really early mornings and I'm not a morning person, so I immediately. I grew to love being on set. It was created through being on set. And then I heard from other people through the grapevine, I don't know how true this is, if you wanted to be to being like a background artist or an extra wasn't as respected. And so I think I just sort of veered away from that and started trying to find ways that I could get professional training in order to be on stage or on the screen or whatever it was that I wanted to do. And sort of veered away from that as well. It was a nice way for myself as a child to the industry because the attention wasn't on me, but it was enough for me to observe and see how the work works, which was really nice.
I don't think there's particularly one way to get into the industry. I think that's what makes it so amazing in a way, because there's so many different routes, for all ages. You could be a child actor, you could be, in your 60s, 70s and be an actor, there's no real set way to do it, but I also maybe think that makes it harder. For me personally, I went to like Stagecoach, things like that, and then I was lucky enough to go to the Brit School when I was 14. So it was all very structured for me. I knew that when I left the Brit School, I wanted to go to drama school, which I did. I went to drama school and studied acting for 21st Century. And then from then, I've got an agent. So it's been very, not easy, but very structured for me. And I know it can be so up and down, and this whole industry is so up and down. It's just trying to find those easy steps for yourself, I think, as an actor, and then looking for the work yourself as well. You can't just sort of sit and wait for it to happen to you. You've got to, I've been writing a play, you've got to find other little talents, try directing and choreographing, things like that, just to pass the time when you're not straight acting. I think there's so many different ways you can get into it, which is great, which is really good.
Have you gone a very structured route, or?
Well, I initially did. I did the same as I did Stagecoach, and then I went to after school acting classes, did my Lambda exams, all that kind of stuff. And then when I went to college, I had a realization that I liked being behind the camera as much as being in front of it. So I went to uni to do film. I thought, if I can make things, I can write myself in it and then give myself my own acting roles, and I can portray myself as like the best person ever.
And how important is it having an agent? Do you need an agent early on in the process, or is that something that comes later as you become more?
I'm not the person to talk to because I wouldn't know. Marie's the agent lady.
Yeah, so I do have an agent, and I definitely ummed and ahed whether it's easier to, not necessarily easier, but if it's better to do it yourself, because you've got things like Spotlight nowadays, which is such a great tool for getting yourself jobs and looking and seeing what's out there, and you can put yourself forward for things. I think for me, the perks of having an agent at the moment, especially starting out, I'm not 100% sure I know what I'm doing in the industry. I'm not sure I'm business savvy enough to understand it from, I suppose, a contract perspective or a technical perspective. So I think having my agent, she's really helpful in guiding me. Like they've been in the industry much longer than I have. So I think their advice is really useful. They do take a cut, and the industry is in a bit of a tricky spot where there's not that many jobs happening at the moment. It is harder. But I think I was in a situation quite recently where I was meant to be doing a job, but it didn't work out very well. There was a few little issues with it, and my agent just absolutely took it over. The contract dealt with the client, and that was a huge stress off my back. That was something that because I wasn't very sure, I was quite new, a bit naive maybe, but having my agent really helped just ease the stress, and I think that's quite invaluable in this industry, just having that support.
And Ben, is that a route you'd go down ultimately? Would you have an agent?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in an industry where it's so important, having an agent with their book and list of connections just takes a step back. You as a person, you don't have to do as much networking. They've already got a network of people that you can sort of use as a stepping stone to start with professional work. I think it's really nice. I'm not at the stage where I have an agent yet. And it's really nice where I'm collaborating with my peers and we're creating work for ourselves. I think as soon as you want to start making a name for yourself, you want to start making this a long career for yourself, getting an agent is the step to take to book that professional paid work.
I mean, I mean, I know I've seen you in a couple of things. Seen some audition tapes that you've done and things like that. I mean, do you put yourself in the character? I've been trying to do some research on acting and whether you can separate yourself from the character. Do you think you're able to do that, Finley, or do you think anything you go for, it's Finley, a version of Finley, or is it the character?
Yeah, well, I think everything is a version of me. I feel like most of the things that I apply for aren't really much of a reach or much different from me anyway. So I kind of like stay in my comfort zone in that kind of aspect because I'm not really fussed about pushing myself at this point.
And Marie, I've seen a few more of your audition tapes for various things. Are they all a version of Marie, or what do you think?
I think yes and no. I think any character I play, I think there's experiences, sort of emotions that I base off of my own experiences. I think, it depends. Every character obviously has their own experiences, and they're not necessarily the same experiences that I've had, but I think I can draw on similar emotions from personal things, and I think that helps a lot. I think I like to think of my characters as being completely, then they're not Marie, they're not me. But then I do think you have to play something with a bit of.
And what about you, Ben? Do you bring, when you're playing Darcy from Jane Austen, or I don't know, something from Shakespeare?
Well, this is something that I've been questioning and battling this year when I've sort of started my acting training, is like, how much of myself am I bringing into a role or a character that I'm playing? And I think, especially again in the industry where it's so overcrowded and there's so many people wanting to do acting, what is unique about us as an actor is that we bring ourselves to the character. The thing about the character is that anyone can they'll just bring their own perspective and experiences to that character. So I do think I bring myself into that character as well. And I was learning how to do Shakespeare this year, and I was going on with this, perception that Shakespeare is big and it's stylized and it's hugely performative. And actually I found out that it's not very interesting to watch when it is big and stylized. It's very over dramatic, and you want to see actors being truthful on stage. And I think to be truthful, you've got to bring yourself to the character and bring yourself to the role. And I think that is where I'd sit with just that. It's like I bring a lot of my energy and my emotions and my traits to the character. Whether it's the right decision and the right it is another thing. It's what I will intend to do.
I mean, these methods, Stanislav's method and Russian acting, I mean, Maria, did you just study those forms formally at college?
Yeah.
Don't ask me what they are. I've no idea, but I just...
No, don't ask me either. God, I can't remember half of them. No, yeah, we do. That was a really good thing to know. I think there's like a basics to theatre that I'm not saying everyone has to know. I mean, I can't remember half the stuff I learned, but I think there's techniques and ways to approach things that are very simple, like when I'm approaching a new character, there are a few first steps that I go through. I try and find out as much about the character as I possibly can that's written. So they're kind of the given circumstances, like if it says where they are, where they live, what their name is, how old they are, their relationship to the other characters in the play or show or whatever you're doing. And then I look at questions that aren't necessarily obvious, but I suppose from then kind of bring into the character myself into it, kind of like I go stupid questions like what's their go-to takeaway, what's their favourite colour, dogs or cats, it's really techniques to really understand the character on another level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are, I suppose, Stanislavski is really, really helpful in that sense.
Finley, I mean, what about a tip for learning lines? Do you learn all the characters, do you think, and then yours specifically, or do you really concentrate on your lines of...
I just kind of learn the cue lines, and then I'll like do a voice memo of me saying the cue lines and then saying my lines. Then like I'll do like a dog walk and then constantly play that back, and do another one of just saying the cue lines and then pausing so then I can hear. So then I've got to say the lines myself. That's how I kind of memorize it.
Ben, do you use that same technique, or you've got an excellent memory?
I mean, no, I don't. I do once I've learned it, but short-term memory is really terrible. So I sort of do the same thing where I'll record the cue lines. I think it's really important to know the other person's lines in that scene as well, just because it informs how you react to their lines, because acting is about reacting and all of that waffle that you get told at the beginning, I think it's really important to know the other person's lines as well. So I try and learn the general script as a whole, which is a long and tedious process, but for me it's about repetition and just keep on repeating lines and repeating what cues are. I do something similar to Finley, record it and repeat it and do that 10 or 15 times a day in various scenarios to my head.
And you do the same?
I have a slightly different technique. Have been trying very hard to figure out the best ways to learn monologues within an hour, and I've got it down to 2 hours, I think, to learn sort of a 2-minute monologue. And I kind of apply this to everything else as well, but I give myself 20 minutes. I time myself 20 minutes to learn as much as I can. 20 minutes, I go through, cover everything, see how much I've learned. And I just kind of repeat that process. And it's surprising, really surprising how much your brain can memorize in 20 minutes. I've always been told that if you look too, like if you're kind of, you can overload your brain by rehearsing too many times or trying to force it, and it just doesn't work. So the 20-minute rule.
Theatre, cinema or TV? You've got a choice of 3, Ben. Cinema, theatre, TV.
Whatever pays the bills. I get the passes all the time. Whatever makes me the money that I need to pay my bills. A wonderful utopic world, I would probably do stage. I think I feel the most connected to characters and most in the moment stage. If I get offered a £3 million film contract.
Finley, what about you?
I guess it's kind of dependent on the role, but really it's more films and TV and stuff, just because I like the whole being on set and the whole process making a movie, so it'll probably be that.
Okay. And what about you, Maria? Are you stage, theatre or cinema?
I think I've had the most experience in stage, so I think I have the most love for stage. I think I love seeing live performances. Like, I love musicals, I love theatre, I just love it. But gosh, I think screen is also, I just love it all, but all of it, everything.
Theatre.
Yeah, I was interested in inspirations. I mean, I've looked at, some of the great actors that we've had out there, very good ones, people like Dustin Hoffman, Seymour Hoffman, Mickey Rourke, who are very intense actors. They really invest in the role. I'm reading some of them, when you meet them, they don't come out of character through the whole film. So if you meet them backstage, they are in that character and you're having to deal with some individual. Is that a level of intensity that is easy to go to? Is that a level of intensity that you envision you would go to if you were in a screen role, particularly? Ben, to you?
No, in short, I don't think it's necessary, to be honest with you. Like, I've not explored method acting fully enough to make an educated opinion or statement on it, but from the screen experience that I have had, yes, it's difficult staying in character between the takes. One of the difficulties I found on set for Party Politics was sort of switching on that emotion as soon as action has been called. But I think it's too extreme. It's an acting job at the end of the day. I think you need to be able to separate yourself from the character in order to protect yourself as a person and as an actor. And so I don't think I would ever go that far and live as the character.
Do you think that would make somebody like a Dustin Hoffman less of a performer then, if he could switch out from his character to his real self?
Oh, I hope Dustin Hoffman isn't listening because
he's in the room right now.
He's...
Again, like I haven't explored method acting enough to know whether or not that makes someone less or more of a performer. I think whatever it takes for someone to get into character to produce the most truthful performance is what the method that they use. I can't say it's right or wrong or it makes you more or less of a performer. I think you have to choose the practice that works for you and implement that into the work to produce the best result.
And Finley, what's your view?
Well, the thing with method acting is it's when people are playing characters that are bad and are like horrible people, then you're using the excuse of method acting, but you're still being horrible to people at the end of the day. Just like, it's kind of like you're kind of just excusing bad behaviour at that point.
Okay. They wouldn't be for you then.
No, definitely not. No,
because I guess there comes a point where you're impacting your mental health potentially, aren't you? If you're this hideous character and then you're playing it for a number of weeks or months or whatever it happens to be, it must be very difficult to step away from that, I guess. What about you, Marie?
I think I definitely agree that it gets to a point where I think it's a bit over the top or a bit overkill, and it is dangerous for the actor, I think. depending on the role. I definitely also see, I think you can see on screen where it works. And I think to get the most true, honest performance, say of someone who's been through absolute hell, I think there's a lot of sort of war films that a lot of the actors in it use a lot of method acting, which I think does get them into character, and it does really show on screen because, I've never been to war. I don't really know what it's like to then be expected to act it without any sort of attempt at method acting. I think would be quite tricky. I think I would find that quite difficult. I know, was it Heath Ledger did a lot of method acting for the Joker, I think. And I don't quite know the ins and outs of what he did, but I think it was quite scary
Intense.
for people around him, but gave him the best performance and something that he's so well known for. So I see the pros and I see the cons. It's something that I wouldn't take lightly if I was expected to do it or do it in the future. It's something I would definitely look into and give it a go.
Which particular actor or actress inspires you at the moment? Is there several? Is there one?
Gosh, who at the moment? I watched The Crowded Room actually on Apple TV really recently. It'd been on my watch list for ages, and I think Tom Holland, I don't think I thought immensely highly of him before this. I thought he was a fabulous actor, brilliant, really nice guy, but watching him in The Crowded Room was incredible. And I really sat there thinking, oh my God, how am I going to be like that? Can I do that? Or, he was playing a character with multiple personalities, and he was essentially playing, I think, about 12 characters in scene, and just to switch was quite incredible. That was the most recent thing I've watched that stuck in my head. So yeah, Tom Holland.
Finley, what about you? Have you got a role model out there?
I can't think of like a particular role model in general, because there's so many that there is, you know what I mean? I'll pick one. But like one performance that I saw recently or rewatched recently that I forgot how good it was is this film called Waves, and the film's set in like two parts basically, and it's like one part it's all the hard heavy stuff, so then the second part is like the therapy from the first part. So it's there's a lot of heavy stuff in it. Well, not really heavy, kind of heavy anyway. And because it's based around this family, the dad in it is just amazing, played by I think Sterling K. Brown, and the way he just like handles his emotion about initially trying to be like the big strong father figure, and then not show emotion, and then realizing that him not showing emotion is what like damaged his son, so then being a more supportive father to his daughter. It's just amazing.
Ben, have you got somebody out there who you're following in the footsteps of?
I love Meryl Streep. I just think she's she's my inspiration because she's just versatile and she's able to perform any role that is given to her to a fantastic standard. And I think she's at the top of her game and does everything with full commitment. And I really just appreciate that about her and her work. And that's something that I aspire to do as well.
That's good. She's got a very almost neutral face, hasn't she? I think that so she lends herself to comedy drama. Whereas I think a lot of actors, if they're a Cockney villain, they're a Cockney villain. If they're a hard man, whatever, that's what they are. I mean, it's hard to get out of that. John Wayne did a lot of cowboy films. I'm going to say he did a lot of cowboy films. Passions outside acting. Finley, you talked about getting behind the camera. What are your passions outside of acting?
Filming is the main passion. Filming is what I love doing, whether it's filming a documentary, whether it's a little skit and sketches, or whether it's filming like YouTube videos. I love making any kind of content, short form or long form. As long as I've got a camera in my hand, I'm having a good time.
Marie, what are your passions outside of acting?
It's all weirdly linked to acting, I think, but I love teaching. I love admin, and I love organizing. Like I work at a casting studio at the moment, and I love organizing and managing and highlighting and making sure the actors are happy and have everything.
Ben, what are your passions outside?
I have a lot of passions outside of acting. I think, again, like Mary was saying, I appreciate everything in the creative sector. But before I wanted to become an actor, I was studying politics and international relations at university, and I really wanted to go into politics and do something, maybe become a diplomat. It was something in that sector and the public huge interest in. And then throughout this year, I've sort of developed facilitation skills. And I'm at a college at the minute where I'm working with adults with moderate learning disabilities. And I think I'm really enjoying having one-on-one time, getting to know them as people. So anything that's like one-on-one, like social work or social care or anything to do with that sort of public sector work.
Fantastic. And if we were to say you're all at the start of your going to be long and successful careers, but if I said to you, where would you, if the plan, you're on the path, you're on the yellow brick road, and it's 5 years down the line and then 10 years there, where would you like to be? I mean, you're all in pretty young, I don't know, by 27, 28, where would you hope to be? And by 30, 32, 34? Ben, where would you hope to be?
I think by the time I'm like 27, 28, I'd like to be, working within the industry. At the age and the stage I'm at now, I'm just trying to find my way into training. I don't want to give myself too much of an achievement within those first years. But within the next 10 years, I'd like to win a BAFTA and an Oscar. I'm aiming high. I want to be at the top of my game. Before I die, I need an Oscar, and I need to.
And what about you, Finley? You have equally high aspirations?
Yeah, I think 5 years EGOT. I think that's the aim. No, I think my kind of aim is to be in 5 years' time to have made a music video for an artist I admire. So like so to make a music video for a reputable name, and then maybe be developing a feature or a series.
What about you, Marie?
I would love to have been in a theatre show, have a good run at a theatre show, or be in a soap. In a soap, I'd love that. I think the ultimate goal, I hope to be a voiceover actor. In the next 10 years, it's something that I'm working on. Slow process, but I know it's quite a niche gate catch. The absolute dream is to be in a children's TV show, be a fairy or something. But yeah, voice acting is definitely kind of my main passion.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, I hope that we, I don't know about 5 years' time, but if we're still doing this sometime next year, you're just about to break, West End stage musical, the recasting of The Sound of Music or something. Guys, look, thank you. Well, they were a talented group. Where can we find out more about what they're doing?
You can find out more about them on our website, 2dsinthepod.uk.
Okay, good. And Peter, next time?
Next time we have Chris Corner, a walking football coach who focuses on helping people with Parkinson's disease.
Wow, that sounds interesting. Looking forward to hearing more about him.
Thanks for listening to 2Ds in the Pod.
See you next time.